Hey there, everybody. It's Rex Sikes, and welcome to All Things Rex Worldwide Live today. My guest is the fabulous Ramy El-Batrawi, and I am so thrilled to have him here. Before we get into actually properly introducing him and bringing him on, I want to say this show today is a special day. It's a special time that we're broadcasting both live, but it will be in replay as all of the shows are. And normally we record every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. We stream and go live every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Of course, not for holidays, or we're off for dark on holidays. Um, so, with that in mind, I just want to bring my guest on. I am so thrilled to have Ramy here with me today. This is Ramy El-Batrawi, and coming to you live from his home. And he's the author of an incredible new book called "Can You Really Think and Grow Rich?" So, hey, hi there,
Hi,
Ray.
how are you?
How are you, sir?
Good to be here.
Well, this is great to be here. Do you mind very early right now? Can you just hold up your book so everyone can see
Sure.
it? I'll have you do that again. But this is
Yeah,
his book, and it's a
can you read?
brand new book that's come out.
Right. And you can find it on my site, canyourreallythinkandgrowrich.com, or you can buy it on Amazon. And also the Kindle version is available, and the audio version will be up in a few days. And this is a hardback too. So
And I read the book as soon as I found out about it, and it is well worth having and well worth buying. So please do go and get the book. You can do it even while you're watching the show. And I'm trying to find out where we are with the Tribune show here. It doesn't appear to be live, and that's there we go. Maybe this is it. Where the heck are we? I don't know. All right, so a little bit of snags and stuff. Ramy, let's tell everybody a bit about who you are. You are a billionaire businessman who started his journey homeless at a young age, and I'm going to let you go into your story. But at a young age, and through the course of your life, applied principles that you got from Napoleon Hill to make fortune after fortune. So, please, would you share your background with us?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was born in Switzerland, but my parents eventually migrated to Canada and Montreal, and I was there at 10 years old, and by 12, somebody introduced me to the book, gave me the book, and I read that book, and it just kind of blew my mind. I kind of resonated with it, and because I was a kid, everybody beat up on and have anything going on in my life and everything, and the book was just talking about it. You can get anything that you want, and the principles were so easy to understand. And even at 12, I read that book for 20, maybe over 20 times, and I just decided to just go and just follow what it said. And it said I could achieve anything I want if I did follow its principles. And one of the biggest principles, it says you can't procrastinate, because that's what kills most successes. So I decided to leave right there and then, because I thought 3 more years of high school, 4 years of college, what can I do in 7 years? So
It
I ended
says
up hitchhiking to Tampa,
because
Florida,
the
and
kills most successes. So I decided to leave right I do in 7 years.
then
So I ended up
I ended up in Tampa at age 12, homeless till I was 17. Then I made the first million at 17. Lost that at 19. Then rebuilt to 50 million by 23. And then again taking big risks to really want to do a lot more. Lost that and ended up making my first billion by 32. But because of events and everything, lost that, and just had to make it back and forth until I had to rebuild everything again. So it was really it's a real journey. The book kind of shows you the journey, the good, the bad. So you feel like you're going that journey with me. It's not just you just start something and you're successful and that's the end of the story. This actually shows, every adversity you can possibly have and how you could overcome them. I mean, Think and Grow Rich ended the book with all the excuses people use and alibis not to even try or fail. And I put that in the beginning of the book because I've had all those challenges and many, many more, and I show how you can overcome all that and still get everything that you want.
That is absolutely fantastic, and I want to backtrack a little bit to one thing you said that just really stands out in my mind. I made my first billion and
Right.
lost it, by 32. I
Right.
mean, this is the testament are the testimony to who you are and what you've accomplished. You know, millionaire at 17, multimillionaire by 23, billionaire by 32, and to have lost. And when you go through the journey in your
Mhm.
book, where this worked out, looked like it was going to be great, and then you had money, and then you're homeless again, and then you have
Yeah.
money, and something else falls through. When you read Napoleon Hill, and I've talked about this for years, he modeled 520 of the wealthiest people at that time,
Right.
and almost all of them had severe hardship or lost their money or had multiple losses before
Right.
they actually broke through, and then even after they broke through. So you, in fact, kind of exemplify this in the sense that if you're going after the wealth, this is part of. Wouldn't you say this is part of a natural process to?
Yeah, it's part of the journey, and any failure you'll encounter failures and resistance and no's, but they're all temporary. And there's always a yes behind every no. Every failure is temporary, and then if it's a really massive failure, there's always, like Napoleon says, a seed of equal or greater benefit. You lose something, it's amazing how something even better is really just around the corner. You just have to pay attention, take advantage of those opportunities. So every time I had a loss or a difficulty or something major happen, it didn't take very long for me to pay attention and find another opportunity that took me to a different level, even higher than where I was.
Well, what I think is also is truly remarkable in terms of your thinking, and that is, one, you didn't let it get you down, and two, as you go through the book, you were open to a lot of possibilities that other people might just completely have missed. I
Right.
mean, I when I first read about getting your key cutting and starting your first business cutting keys, in front of a store, I was like, gee, I would never have been that thoughtful to do something like that. It wouldn't have occurred to me. I
Yeah.
would have been going. I'd probably still be sitting out in front of that store at my age, going,
Right.
"What the heck could I do?"
Yeah.
So, but you at a very tender age.
Yeah, I always believe in that, and I kind of explained it in the book a little bit. Is that you do become what you think of most of the time. In the book I put an example. If you're a doctor, you go to medical school and you treat patients, read journals. All you're thinking about is medicine, and so you have kind of blinders on. So you're focused on medicine. You don't notice opportunities that are business opportunities because that's not what you're thinking of most of the time. When a person, even a waitress, if she's thinking about making $500 a week as a waitress and how to serve better or something, you don't notice business opportunity. But because I decided to become a businessman and build my wealth through business, then you notice things that are all about business. Then you notice the opportunities because your mind is open to it. My mind's not open to anything medical and everything because I'm not a doctor, but anything that had to do business or opportunities, I was just open to it. Just like I put another example, like even if you look at Einstein, his mind was focused on science and the universe and stuff, and he was able to see the curvature of the universe, in his mind before they could prove it 12 years later. So it's almost like I give this example that you're a radio, and the universe gives you all this information, and it depends where you tune in that station in. So if you're tuned into 96.1, that station is for business. 97.8, it's for medicine. So it's where you decide to focus and tune your mind and think of is the opportunities that you see or not see.
Wow. Wow, that's truly important for people to know. But it also, you would not have had that experience had you not been reading Think and Grow Rich, most
Right.
likely, because that did shape your mind. And the fact that you read it and reread it at a young age.
Right, and then I made a decision what I wanted, and I put a burning desire behind it. So I was tuned in to whatever opportunity there was to build what I wanted to build. So Thinking Grow Rich was such a huge. I didn't read that book. I don't know where I would be at. I don't know if I would have read something else later on that would have took me in the same direction. But that book definitely, at that age, also you're so young and you haven't been influenced by the rest of the negative world saying you can't do this, you can't do that, this is impossible. So that's the only thing I feel lucky about, that I got that book that young. But everything else, when people say, "Oh, you're lucky to have all this," luck has nothing to do with anything that you achieve. It's really what you put forth and the action you put behind what you do to get what you want.
Well, it truly is one impressive. I mean, for a young person, I started reading Napoleon Hill at 11. but
Mhm.
I wasn't homeless. And, I went to school and lived
Yeah.
a fairly normal life, unlike you, who was homeless and entrepreneurial from such a very young age. And
Right.
I would venture to say that out of all of my years, there may be 1 or 2 years that I wasn't reading Napoleon Hill where I had a crisis in my life, kind of thing. And you could almost argue that I probably had the crisis because I wasn't doing my practice or reading. I had let it slide while, and let myself succumb to less than glorious thinking.
Yeah.
So as you progressed as a
Mhm.
child and into an adult, I think what you said too is also is very important, and that is you were too young to be too conditioned. I mean,
Right.
you grew up with whatever conditioning you had, but you were still, I mean, the argument is between 0 and 8 is when most of our conditioning occurs, and
Right.
then we spend the rest of our life kind of validating that conditioning, proving it, by our experiences. So you were still in that area where you could collect new experiences and kind of reshape your thinking and reshape your mind along the lines of what you were learning through the book and
Yeah.
and most importantly putting into practice.
Yeah, and if it is true that you're shaped between 0 and 8, the interesting thing is I'm glad I was a kid everybody beat up on and I was rejected and everything, because if you think if you're the most popular kid in school and everything's going your way and you have this amazing home life and you get to date girls and stuff, there's no reason for you to really try harder or look for something else. So you kind of like go along life, and that's why when you look at these you know, these high school books or say the most likely to succeed, those people are usually the ones who don't succeed. It's the ones that you'd never expect because they had to suffer. So they had to prove out to the world they can do more, and they look for other things. So maybe it is true. You're shaped between 0 8 and between 0 and 8. I was looking for something better because my life was not great. It was just full of rejection. So maybe it does help to have that negativeness, because I feel that bad things that happen to you and the negative things that happen to you does create greater things. I mean, when you look at the adversities, that's just even in America. I mean, we became a superpower because of World War II. We didn't even have much of a military, but World War II created us. That adversity created us to become no superpower. Or the adversity even at the beginning of America, because of the taxes and how we felt about the English and everything, and we had to fight. We created the Constitution of a great nation. So adversity and the things that happen bad is what takes you to the next level. If everything's going great, nobody feels like, why should I change anything?
Yeah, that's a really good point because I'm right there with you. I think that adversity does shape you and hone you, and I do adhere to the whether it's true or not, to the aphorism that things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Right.
And whether that's true, I mean, in other words, whether you believe in divine providence or not,
Yeah.
if you
Well, you
accept
got to decide if it's true or not for yourself. I mean, you could be a victim mentality and say, "Oh, whoa, it happened to me," or you say, oh, "Okay, this is something that brought to me for me to do something with." So it's all the way you think if it's going to be true or not.
it's how you approach the difficulty in your life and whether you
Right.
decide it's gonna triumph over you or you're gonna triumph over it. I
Right.
love this story. I talk about this all the time about Edwin C. Barnes.
Yeah.
You the most telling part about Barnes is after he meets Edison and he stands there and Edison said there was nothing remarkable about him except the look in his eye. And I
Right.
know to take notice of when a man or a woman has that look is when you turn the pages, there's nothing happened for a long time. Somewhere it said 5 years, and in history, if you look historically, it'll say for at least 2 years, Barnes worked as a janitor without any visible evidence that anything was going to ever happen.
Right.
But Hill writes that he continued to keep it alive in his mind that
Right.
he was the partner of Edison. So he ignored the circumstances. He lived with what was going on. He didn't say, I'm a lowly janitor, but in his head,
Yeah.
he said, I am a partner with Edison, and he kept it alive. So there is this attitude that one cultivates when one embraces the philosophy as you do. But I think what's really important and what you stress in your book
Mhm.
is that you can't just read the book. You have to actually apply the material that you're learning, and
Right.
that's what you
So,
did.
like Don Green says, wishing and wanting and all that is just wishing if you don't apply some burning desire or action. But even Barnes, the example of Barnes, I use Barnes as example when I went after Adnan Khashoggi. I mean, he's the richest man in the world. It took me 2 years to find him, 2 years to convince him. But the same attitude I had with Barnes, even in my mind, and when even Adnan said, "There's no way I was going to work with him," I created the $1 billion because I worked with him. And Barnes became a millionaire selling Edison's typewriter when the opportunity came about. So I took that same example, and I was thinking about Barnes when I was approaching Khashoggi. So that principle, that story actually really works. In my mind, I was going to work with Khashoggi, and I found opportunities hanged around and waited. And a lot of people won't have the patience of once you have a goal, waiting 4 years. It took me 4 years before he gave me the opportunity to do the first thing, and then the next 8 years built the fortune I did. And I burnt all my ships and bridges, just like Napoleon Hill said, no retreat left, and you jump at it. And then so you don't look at any other opportunity and focus on the one thing and build a burning desire to where no matter how many no's, I've probably heard 1,000 no's and how many times to get lost and stuff, but you don't stop until you get what you want. And at the end I did, and I built a fortune with them. And that was the first $1 billion that I got. This is because of what Barnes did, and gave me the example. That's why I want my example to be applied. People use my example and say, okay, Ramy can do it, and he was patient, he did those things, no matter how much rejection, but if I don't stop, I will get it. So it's really what you think and what you decide in your mind. If you failed after a year or two, or you feel that's just part of the journey, and it's just okay, every no is a closer to the next yes. So it's all
what I really love about that is that Barnes retired a very wealthy man, partnered with Edison, but
right,
he's dead and he's gone, and
right,
we have nothing to go on but the written record of it. But you're alive,
right,
you are here, and you're available, and you're sharing your wisdom and experience with others. And people can literally ask you questions about it. And we do have some questions that I'll be putting up soon. But I mean, this is what's fantastic. And I was going to go to Khashoggi shortly, so I'm glad that you referenced him, because it truly is a Barnes-like story. I mean, your tale is in fact in some ways even more impressive. I mean, because the amount of work and effort that you had to go through in order to do it, and you talk about it in your book. So, but that too, you watched, you said you saw Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous and saw his lifestyle and went, gee, I
right,
want that. I hate to say this because I watched the same show, but I didn't think, oh my God,
right,
So this is what I'm saying when I point out that you had you from a very early age on, you kind of knew the trajectory of your life and where you wanted
right,
to go. I drifted for many years, honestly,
right.
but you had this purpose and this passion and the wherewithal inside yourself through the philosophy of Think and Grow Rich to make it happen, and you did.
Yeah, and
And
in that book, there's times I drifted, like when I talk about towards the end, where I got stuck with those antidepressant pills and everything because I fought the government. But again, those principles, it works for everything. I mean, in that book, I talk about the 7-year battle with the government that ended up winning. But I was facing 100 years in jail for not something I didn't do, just because of 9/11, and there were some people wanted to go after Arab sounding names or Arabs, and Khashoggi was my partner. But I fought for 7 years, and again, a lot of what people would have gave up and made a deal because of the fear of the 100 years that they would have gotten. But again, those principles kept me going for 7 years until they conceded. And that picture of that letter is in that book of when the government finally said, okay, we're not going to prosecute. But it took 7-year battle and not being afraid, because a lot of people are afraid for what they're going to do, even though they're innocent, because they don't want to lose a ton of years of their life, and they'll accept a little bit because of fear. So it's really, it's again, those principles work for absolutely everything, even for love. I mean, when I decided I wanted to really have a partner, and I pictured my dream girl that I wanted, and I ended up, seeing her and meeting her. It took me 18 years of a lot of rejections and no, I'm not gonna date you and stuff like that, to the point now we're married, and she's like the most amazing girl, and so it works for finance, government, if it's health reasons or women or money. It's just it is all these principles works for everything. I mean, it's just not. It just you got to decide what you want it to work for. Once you make that decision and apply each one of those principles that Napoleon Hill has, and because I applied them and lived them more than just read them, I had a whole bunch more principles I created through life, and so I put another 28 keys additional to what Napoleon Hill is in my book that I use that are practical that helps you win. So I went to one step beyond, or many steps beyond, because I was living it. So for 48 years of practicing it, I found new principles, new ways of achieving things that I added in this book. That's why I think that book is such a great add-on to what if you know Think and Grow Rich, or you ever read it or you bought it. That this takes you to the next level of education of how to really achieve things.
It really does. It's like an upper degree. I mean, I hate to equate it to the educational system, but I do only in principle or name only. It's like the difference between getting a bachelor's and getting your PhD or an advanced education or a doctor. I mean, because it really does take you to the next level. I wanted to ask, and that is this: a lot of people, myself included, in my life, have thought, well, we work really, 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 really hard,
All right.
and we make a certain level of success, and then we coast. Everything is solved. And I can't tell you how many millionaires and billionaires' homes I have been in my life who I go, I wouldn't want their life, or who they have said to me, I have all this stuff, but I'm not happy. At the end of the day, I got things, but I'm empty inside.
Right.
How for you is that different? Number one, and then number two, do you get to coast when you're a billionaire? Is it, or does the workload increase?
No, it's really, again, it's all your mindset. Money just actually enhances your core. If you're a really nice guy and you're generous and everything, when you have more money, you become more so. If you're a really hardcore, cruel, unhappy when you didn't have money, money doesn't change that, because your core is the same thing. So I felt confidence since I was really young, and I was basically I really like myself. I like the thing, and I like my journey. So as I built wealth, I grew with it, and I was able to adjust to it. And if I lost, I adjusted to that until I readjusted, because I had my goals. But I take an example like Donald Sterling. He's got $4 billion, but he's a very unhappy man. He lost a T, and I've known him for 25 years, and I've taken him out to dinner and lunches maybe 1,000 times over 25 years. Not once has he ever picked up the tab, and he has still that poverty mentality that when he was broke, and he hasn't changed with the money, and he's now in his mid to late 80s, and he'll die in a few years and never enjoying life, and it's really interesting. But it's just the way you think. I think differently, and that was what I loved about Adnan Khashoggi. He thought different. He was a generous man. He enjoyed his money. Some people might have made more money than him, but nobody's ever spent more money than him. And he was extremely generous, and he shared it with whoever he came in contact with. So it's really the way you think, and the reason why some people coast, they get comfortable. That was their goal, and they were really happy. But I don't rest and stuff, because my goals are so much bigger than even what I have now. So I have no idea where I'll be in 5 to 10 years from now. So there's like no time to rest. And in that book, you'll see where, because I had a big hiccup where I lost everything and fought the government. So I felt I lost 15 years of my life, the most valuable years from 40 to 55. So now I'm in the mode of making up for lost time, and that's why I'm accelerating what I do. And just 5 years ago, I was homeless again. And it only took me 5 years to build everything I have now today. So that book, I like the end of the book more than even the beginning, because it shows that I went broke, fought the government, was on these drugs that doctors came. I actually died. I went homeless. I was revived, and then I rebuilt everything back from nothing. And when I came back clear that I was going to do it in less than 5 years, and I did it. I achieved everything I set out my mind 5 years ago to achieve, and I did. And now I'm just going to keep on going, because I just want to make up for all this lost time.
Well, it's just so amazing that you did that and you went through all that, and you're a nice guy. I mean, I would venture to say
Thank
that,
you.
you well, but I mean, your early experience, being homeless as a child.
Mhm.
Before I get to what you just said, I want to go back just a bit to the child thing for the starting point. When you started your first business, with the keys and stuff, and then became a millionaire at 17, was that something that you did purposefully? Did you say I'm going to have $1 million soon, or was that a goal of yours, or did you just start applying things and then discover that you could make money at it?
Well, the goal came when I was 12, when I read the book. I meant to build great wealth, and I knew it was going to be through business and everything else. So by the time I was 17, I probably tried 30 different things. That failed and failed and failed until finally I had the first thing that actually, did really work to where I could really, accelerate it to make that money. But it was. I can't even count the amount of businesses I had until 17, but that was my goal. And I just kind of shifted. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, I'm going to try something else. And I was young and I was just learning business, but I was learning it as I was doing it. So that's, now I'm better than I was when I was 17. I have so much knowledge of hundreds and hundreds of businesses I've been in, probably maybe 1,000. I can't even count the amount of businesses, but I have the life experience of having these businesses, and business is basically all the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's an airline, tech company, or restaurant. Sure, it's basically same principles. So I can use those same principle for almost anything. But and specialized knowledge is cheap. So I can hire the people that has a specialized knowledge about technology or airlines and stuff to actually do the day-to-day operations. But the vision, the drive, all comes from me in the start. So it's so now just using everything I've learned in a lifetime to just accelerate what I'm doing bigger
Well,
things.
Well, and that's where I wanted to come back to the end of the book, where you had gone through all these things and you did die and you did have all this stuff and you did
Right.
go, broke and homeless. And then you said, well, I'll do it again, but I'll do it in 5 years, is because of all the experiences you went through up until that point. I mean, I think what's lost on a lot of people is they think, one, it's a straight line to success. And two, if there's hardship, a lot of them quit and fall off and give up. And
Mhm.
then three, because of all the hardship and because of all the changes and because of all the businesses you had, when you did break through multiple
Mhm.
times and
Mhm.
have lost that, and then that when the crap really hit the fan at
Right.
that point and everything fell apart, you did know how to rebuild it.
Yeah.
Which is where a lot of people wouldn't know what to do, but you knew what to do because you've done it before.
Right. No, that's why I love my journey much better than if I had a father that left me hundreds of millions of dollars or stuff. Life would have been so different. I have a really good friend that, if, his father left him hundreds of millions of dollars, and believe it or not, when he lost it just about a year ago, and he had no idea, he jumped off a roof and killed himself. It's just because you don't have the knowledge. For me, you could take me anywhere in the world, like I keep on saying, drop me off. Within 6 months, I'll build wealth all over again. I'll probably be the richest person in that town. It's just because of my experience and knowledge, and I know how to think and how to notice the opportunities and what to do. Like I said, I have a Rolodex of 7,000 people. I could reach anybody. But when I started out at 12, and I was in the homeless, I had nothing. So I'm like anybody else. That's why I wanted to put all those alibis, excuses. I could use an excuse. I had no education. I started out poor. I have no contacts. I have criticism. All those I had, and that's why I put it in the book. And then so much more. And even when when the government went after me, all new excuses came up. Oh, the internet is full of negative stuff that I'm being indicted. I'm being this. I'm this, and nobody wanted to do business. I could use all those excuses why I should not fail. But I just found until somebody was willing to do business because they met me and knew me, not what they read. There's so many things. There's nothing in Think and Grow Rich about being stuck in prescription medicine and stuff, or dying and coming back. And I purposely, like 5 years ago, I took those pictures and put it in the book because I knew I was going to write this book, and I wanted to first, because people want proof. I wanted to document how bad it was, and I even have videotapes. I taped a lot of things I can put in the book of what was going on at the time. And I said I was going to be back in 5 years, so I wanted to document. And when I started the book, I said I'm not going to write this book or finish this book until I did achieve everything I said. So the book was written after I achieved it, because I didn't want to put it in the middle and then say, okay, this is just a principle you're trying to say, teach, but you're not doing it, or you haven't shown that you can really come back and stuff, or do what you do. So document it. Then I wrote the book after I achieved it, and it was just again, not to show off what I have and stuff, but to really show and give the example that anybody in any circumstances can get exactly what they want. And that's the whole point of that book. And I put enough quotes and examples and stuff that it should inspire. And if they just take anyone, I mean, they don't have to take every principle I've written or every principle that Think and Grow Rich has. If you just start with a few or just one, I mean, just even Think and Grow Rich, the burning desire, which I talk a lot about, you just do that one thing alone. You don't have to do the rest, and you'll achieve what you want. I mean, it's just, but the rest kind of enhances and builds on that. And you do one thing and you see it works, then it gives you confidence to do the other things. And as it works, you do all the other things. I mean, the thing is success, begets success. And when things work, you do other things that work. And people, one of the biggest fears people have is criticism. They take advice from their family. You should go to school, you should do that and all that. But all these people that are taking advice has done nothing in their lives, and they accept their advice as gospel, or when they should be ignoring all this advice. Pay attention to what that person has achieved if you're going to take their advice of how to live your life. If that person has achieved and has lived an extraordinary life, or has lived the life you want to live, then take their advice. But if that person is just on a 9-to-5 job and barely existing, and has a failure of a life, why are you listening to anybody that has that? You can't be affected by people's criticism or opinions if they can't prove that they've done anything to deserve for you to listen to them.
Wow. Well, there's just so much there. I hope people will go back and rewatch the show over and over again, as well as share it with their friends and their families members. And strangers. So if you're liking the show, go ahead and hit the like buttons wherever you are, share it, feed it forward. If you have questions for Ramy, please go ahead and ask questions and leave comments. Please engage, because the more that you do right here at the Tribune page, whether you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, or Roku, wherever you are, the more engagement, the more people will get the opportunity to get this valuable lessons from Ramy here. That they might not otherwise be able to have. One of the things that we just talked about, the fact that you could say, well, I'm going to rebuild it in 5 years or less. Going with the notion of living from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, or living from I am Edison's partner, I am the partner of Khashoggi. I'm going to that mindset. That the one fundamental difference between many people, maybe the 97% of the people who don't have wealth, is that they go, I'd like to be rich, or I want to be rich, and I don't know how to do it, and I don't know what to do, which is a different mindset from somebody who goes, I can rebuild it because I know what to do. And it's not living. I would argue that it's not deceptive to say, I know how to create wealth inside yourself. If you start to embrace that attitude, then you can go and start to learn how to create wealth. But
the opportunities will come to you. The knowledge will come to you. Like I put an example of Barnes in there. Not Barnes, I mean of Ed Lanchant, when I first was early on saw the Coral Castle. That's an example of somebody who had burning desire. He lost a girl he loved the day of his wedding, or the day before, and he was in such deep pain. So he mixed it with emotion, and he figured out how to build this castle that's so incredible. He didn't have the knowledge how to build a castle, and he built one through his mind that they still don't know how to. He built today, and it's not something that happened 3,000 years ago during the pyramid days or anything. It happened 67 years ago. I mean, the smallest block is two tons. The door is 20 tons, and the walls. And if you look at that castle, and you Google the Coral Castle and look at what he built in his lifetime, and nobody ever saw him work, and they can't build it today. I mean, when the door came off its hinges when he did that, it took 3 cranes to put it back in place. Where did he get the knowledge to build that castle? And it's through the emotion, and it's all that information in the universe. So even though I have a lot of knowledge about business and stuff, but believe it or not, if you decide that you want to build a business, that knowledge will come to you, and you will learn from other people. People will come, and other people will help you. You might make some mistakes, but you automatically fix those mistakes. I mean, just shift and don't let it get to you, and you can build anything or do anything. I mean, you just have to decide that you're going to do it. And just like I think it's in Napoleon Hill or one another book. If you think you can, you're right, and if you think you can't, you're right also. So it's a decision that you make and put your mindset that it's going to happen. And in the 5 years is very important, because it says in Think and Grow Rich, it's very important to put a time limit in a lot of these things, because if you say, "Oh, I'm going to be rich one day," that one day you'll procrastinate forever. But if you know you have only 5 years, or you work harder because you know you have to achieve certain goals. And even the 5 years, I broke it down like when I lost my house, I say in 6 months I'll get the house back that I lost. And this, I gave different timelines in those 5 years what I was going to achieve. The first business going to happen. So it was like the time and the pressure that you put on yourself is very important, because then your mind works overtime, make sure that happens, and you'd be amazed how close to the timing it does happen.
So this is great, because I mean, such fantastic information, but also the trust, the faith, the certainty that you have, which is what Napoleon Hill talked about constantly,
Right.
and I think is lost on people, is the fact that the information will come. You just have to start moving. You start your plan where your feet are, get going, do whatever you can. You don't need to know how, you don't need to all that stuff. Just know what your purpose is, your definite chief aim, and move in that direction. And then everything, because what you just said a moment ago, I have a Rolodex of 7,000 people. I mean, that came from your experience, that came from
Right.
your life. And now you can pick up the phone and call it. Like, it was like Henry Ford, who made that famous quote, "If you
Right.
think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Also said, when he was brought to, up in court, where he said they were testing his knowledge, and they said, "You're really a simpleton, you're an idiot, you don't have any practical information." And at a certain point, he said, "Well, wait a second. I've got a row of electronic buttons on my desk where if I want that information, I just press the button and the right person comes in and gives me the information. Why should I clutter my head up with stuff that's useless when so."
Yeah. That's
But
what
the
I'm saying.
idea is that
Specialized knowledge is cheap. Look how many people go to college that never use a degree. Anytime I want to start a business, you'll find droves of people that you could hire that'll fill those gaps. I know nothing about accounting, and I know the general principle stuff. I know nothing about building technology or writing code, but those you can get pretty easy. I mean, it's cheap. So you need first a vision and drive, what most people don't have. You do that, and people will follow you if you inspire them, and you'll bring the right people on. You can achieve what you want. It's not that hard. And today, more than even back then, there are more opportunities to make money today than ever before. I mean, there's more billionaires been created the last 20 years in the history of time. I mean, the opportunities are abound of what you can do, and it doesn't take very much to go after and achieve them. It's just believing you can, and then deciding what you want, and also the limits. There's no limit to what you can achieve. I mean, that's why I try to put an example in the book, because the limits that you have of achievement is really the limits that you put on yourself. If you think that you can only make $100,000 a year, that's all you're going to do, or 50,000 a year. If you think, okay, $1 million is my goal, that's what you're going to get. And there's a really great little poem that was in Think and Grow Rich I put in my book about how somebody bargained with life, and worked so hard. And then at the end, he realized whatever he asked out of life would have gladly paid him. So it's really, you got to ask for it and decide what you want. And once you like in that poem, once you set the wage, you got to bear it. That's what you're going to get, So you got to decide what you really want and what's enough, and what does make you happy. And if you set it too low, that's what you're going to get. If there's nothing that's too high. I mean, it's just look at what other people have achieved from nothing, and it's because they set their sights at a much different level than most people set their sights at, because society conditions them, or their family conditions them. Okay, I want you to be a doctor and earn $400,000 or $500,000 a year or something, or well, I'd be happy if I could earn this, or just be able to make my mortgage, or if you're living in a project and you're really poor, just living on what welfare is giving you, because they don't think they could do any different. I mean, it's really all of it comes down to what you really believe what you can do. I mean, once you believe it and you start applying the principle and make it a burden, that information and all that will come to you. I mean, I was watching just the other day, just by chance, The Secret, and Secret was a great show, but a lot of people missed a lot of it. They thought if they just thought about it and wished it and put it out there, it was just going to happen. But I was thinking, it was a really good section in there about Jack Canfield. He really wanted to make money. He was really broke, and he thought, okay, I'm going to make $100,000. I want to figure out how and everything. And he had that little book, and he started noticing, the Inquirer, if I advertised there, he started noticing the ways of making it, and he ended up making that. And then when he said, okay, I'm going to, his wife says, do you think it'll work for $1 million? He said, it should. And he thought about $1 million, and he ended up making. The publisher gave him $1 million for that first book, where Chicken Soup as a Soul. So it was, but he found ways of doing it. So you got to take action once you decide. So it's not only the attraction. Yeah, you get rid of the negative thinking that you can't do it. You put in the positive thinking, and then the opportunities will come. And then you got to grab onto it and take action on the things that you notice. It does take you to that level.
Wow. Well, there's so much stuff there that what you just said. I want to come back to dreaming big. So if I forget, please remind me, because I want to talk about something that you said. But I've been teaching workshops and seminars for some 40 years, and one of the things that I talk about is people go to college, and I went to college. I mean, I went back as an adult after dropping out when I was 17 or 18, and I went back when I was like 30 and got a degree. But the point that is lost on people, especially today, even when I went back as an adult, it didn't cost but a couple $1,000s, a year compared to what it costs now.
Right.
And what I tell people is, statistically, 80% of everything you learned in college is forgotten within 6 months of graduation. And
Right.
how much money did you invest in college to forget 80% of everything you've learned in 6 months' time? And so many of these people are not working in their chosen degrees. They don't have, they're not finding jobs, or they're not doing what they had hoped to do. So a college education, while I don't think it's a bad thing to have, I also don't think it's necessarily a great thing to have. And many of the people today, as well as in the past, like yourself, have gone on and made vast fortunes without a high school or college education, because it's not about that formalized learning. It's about what you talk about, the application of the principles for creating wealth and creating yourself to be the kind of person who can create wealth, which I think is first and foremost the important part that is lost so many times with people who come to Napoleon Hill. They think it's about doing that thing as opposed to transforming oneself. And what really happens when you start applying the philosophy is you transform so that you become the kind of person for whom wealth becomes possible. And that change in mindset and attitude and in behavior, you don't get in a college, you don't get in a high school, and most of the people don't get it from their parents. So it's what you exemplify and what you've done and what you accomplish in that regard is truly. Sorry, I've got a phone that keeps going loud for some reason. But going back to what you said,
yeah, and I agree. But like, I never finished high school, never went back to college, didn't do college. I don't want to knock college for people. I mean, college is something, it'll make somebody feel better. And if you look at nations or the society that are more educated than not, they do better in life. And it's just because just knowledge is good, but you can't teach what I do in college.
Right.
But college is good. I mean, if you want to go through that experience, it's 4 years. It'll help you. I mean, you probably might not use it, but it'll make you a much more educated person, and might give you more confidence and stuff like that. So I never want to preach against college. I don't want everybody to drop out. People are having a hard time right now in college too, and it's expensive. And right now, even more women are graduating than men and stuff. And it's really interesting. This whole new generation, that Z generation, is. I'm a little confused on that, and I don't see like great leaders coming out of the G generation. I think life has been too good. We haven't had any real big issues in the world except COVID, which was not really that big of an issue for these people to suffer through. And I think during the World War II or the Great Depression or the Industrial Age and all that, there was a lot of suffering. There was reasons why people had to achieve things, but it seems like this whole generation is just like the skated life so easy. Life has been too good and too easy, and the stock market has been going up for 20 years and nonstop. And even the Robin Hood comes out and people make money because it's easy to make money when the market is up every single day. Because you just buy anything and it'll go up, and they think they're really smart. They don't have to try very hard. So I don't see people suffering the way they need to suffer to grow to the next level. So this whole the new Z generation, I don't see how the new leaders are developed from it, or so it's really something has to happen to really shock the world or shock these people. They need to start for leaders to emerge. I mean, Gandhi emerged from all that adversity, or the other great leaders emerged because of adversity. You know, Roosevelt, which I think was our greatest president, was nominated 6 terms. You know, he went through the Depression, World War II, but that adversity, he understood how to create mastermind and did great things. But so today was hardly any adversity, you know, and I don't believe, I think is right for the government to give everybody free money, because right now people, I look at companies, and I'm in Vegas or different areas, they can't find people to work. I mean, I have the company EV Mobility, and I'm installing these cars in Torrey Pines. They have to shut the restaurants during the day because nobody wants to work, because they make more money staying at home. So what kind of motivation does it give to give everybody free money to just stay home, and because they make more money staying at home than they go to work? I mean, that's a mentality set in itself. If you feel more comfortable that you're getting free money to stay at home, what are you going to achieve in life? You know, that money's going to run out, and then what? You know, it's really it's an interesting age we're living in, and I feel that people that suffer more will achieve more. I mean, it's just because I've done it, and I've seen it firsthand many times over. I know I probably went off on a tangent, but education is a good. But people rely on it. They think it's going to change their life, and make a difference. But they take classes that don't make any sense. Also, what's liberal arts? I mean, how you apply that to succeed in life? I mean, or something like that is just to say I have a degree. That's fine if you want to be educated, but okay. So that's 4 years. You still have the rest of life. It's never too late. I rebuilt the wealth at 55. So then go on your real journey after you're done with college. Anyways,
Awesome.
I went off.
No, you're great. And I want to comment, but I want to take a housekeeping note. You do have the sun creeping in over your right shoulder.
Okay.
You might want to move a little, I think, to your left.
Towards people don't see.
And then.
So the sun in this.
That's perfect. So that's great now. And thank you. You raised a lot of points. One, I'm going to address one about the free money, because there were times where people were saying, if you pay somebody $600, they're more apt to not work. And I'm like, $600 today is like $1, 100 years ago. I mean, it doesn't buy that much. I find that hard to believe that amount of money would be much incentive for anybody. If somebody paid me $600, it would be gone in seconds.
Believe it or not, people will adjust their lives to that money. They figure out how to survive on that, so they don't have to.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are those who can do that, but I'm saying I'm not sure that that's a huge incentive for people not to work. I think what's happened, rightly so.
But I see it every day. I am in the real world, and I deal with a lot of business, and I see how hard for them to employ people because they're getting too much money because they don't make enough. But even myself, not to, again, I want to give myself as an example. Not once when I was homeless or in the streets or anything, or when I was broke even the last time, did I ever apply for welfare or took money from anybody or the government or beg. Right. Even when I was homeless, I never begged. It just, I wasn't going to get into that mentality. And I was going to stay away from that mentality, and because my world was different in my head, and I felt that it had to come from within me and what I do, not what somebody gives me. Yeah, I go raise money and people invest in the businesses, but I created a business that I can sell the dream and show what people can achieve, and people win when they go with me. But how does the government win when you're just taking their money and creating national debts in the trillions that they'll never pay off?
Right.
I mean, I can't even see how that's going to get taken
care
of.
Well, you do make great points. I guess where I was headed with this is that there may be some people, but I don't think that it would be a lot of people. But and I could be wrong, that are motivated by that small amount of money. I think what's happened and what we've seen with COVID, and I completely agree with you. I mean, I grew up at the tail end of the Vietnam War. I didn't get drafted. I was fortunate I didn't have to. We were I was a baby boomer, so things were pretty good. The biggest thing that happened to us in California was we had a gas crisis and a drought for a long time. But other than that, I mean, gas went up to $1. And people waited in lines, that kind of thing. Until but everything we did, life was pretty easy, pretty good. I was homeless for a short period of time. I lived with a period of time where I had 2 nickels that I wouldn't spend. I kept in my pocket because I didn't want to be completely penniless. So I had a dime, 2 nickels that I kept for literally like 3 or 4 months that I, to try and figure out how to live. But the point I make is that my kids who are in their 20s now and things like that, the generation that they have been brought up in has been one of almost no hardship. Yes, we had
Right.
9/11, but I mean, they got phones, they got, I mean, all these things. They have the internet, they have social media, which brings its own share of problems. But I think what's happened to the workforce is people have been growing up seeing that other people are making more money as an entrepreneur. And when COVID hit and they got to stay home for the first time, they went, why should I go back to a job if this guy can make money online and that girl can make money online and this person can make money this way? And I'd rather do that than to go back and work for some employer. I mean, I think there's been a kind of a rethinking of, do I want to be a worker bee or do I want to be the boss? And the
Yeah,
sad
but,
part,
but that's
well, I was just going to say the sad part about it is a lot of people who want to be the boss don't have the experience of any of it because all they've done is live the cushy life. They haven't had the hardship to know how to be a boss. So,
yeah, but also like even if they say that, I mean, if everybody stayed home, the millions, it's a very crowded field doing making money, and you hear about the great successes, Netflix, all this stuff, and these apps, but there's like, I don't know, like 6,000 new apps introduced to the Apple Store every single day. So that is a long shot too. So you're in a crowded field if you think you're going to just stay home and make money. I mean, it's like, and you can't use excuse of COVID to stay home. I know
right.
there's like, I think 2 million evictions waiting to happen that the courts held off. And I look at my power went out in the house one day, and I called the power company to find out what it is. And the first thing on the recording, it says, "Oh, if you got a disconnect notice, this ignore it. We're not going to disconnect anybody on COVID. So what do? You're not going to pay the bills for 2 years." So now all this is piled up on these people and stuff. But again, it's just the way you think. I looked at COVID and I said, "Wow, there's opportunity here also." So I started a company called PDQ, with a logistics company, so delivering logistics and stuff like that. I built a multi, that company's worth $300-400 million today. Because I took advantage of what there is, because of COVID. I don't take there and view myself as a victim. Oh, okay, now COVID is here, and I can't do the business I want to do and everything. You just find the new opportunity that does present from all these adversities and stuff. And a lot of big companies, that's why the marketers went up. Zoom, all these, flourished during COVID. So you can sit there and say, oh, all this has happened. I'm a victim. I need to, get small and do nothing, stay at home and all this stuff. And then you live in fear and you're not looking at opportunities. It's just, again, that's a whole different discussion. My belief is if I took money and when it's free money, I wouldn't be working hard or achieving the things I did. It's just too easy to relax and just get the money and then you start getting lazy. You start watching TV all day, or you're on the phone whatever it is. Your drive is gone. You don't have the same burning desire. To me, I think if the government never gave anybody money, COVID would have ended a lot sooner, and those people staying at home, they would have worked really hard to find something to do, and I think the economy would grow a lot more, and things would have happened. But that's again, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little off track, but not really, because it is about the mindset that people come to things, and I don't disagree with anything that you said. I think that what the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of people who have been raised who are now in their 20s and 30s actually had it really too well and too
that's what I was saying.
They didn't, right, exactly. They didn't have it. And so they think more fancifully than, or more fantasy than otherwise. Like, I can just have this big killing, or I can do this. What you said though is again, it goes back to your experience in applying the rules. You said, well, when COVID hit, I made extra money. I made $300-400 million because I knew how to create a business. I mean, the people who are money savvy and who create wealth know how to make money when times are good or when times are bad, or when times are even. I mean, you can go in all directions and still prosper.
Yeah, but again, I keep on saying it's not because only my knowledge of what I have.
Right.
If you have no choice and you think that way, the opportunities are there. It'll come up and you'll see it. Just take advantage and take action. So it doesn't matter if you have no experience or very little experience. Again, all that knowledge is so common sense. It's just making that decision you're going to do that. So I'm not special in any way. I don't view myself as special. Again, I was still, that's why I wrote the book. Again, 12 homeless. I was, nobody gave me a chance. 5 years ago, when I showed that picture, and there's a picture in the book, myself, because I put those pictures in a book for a purpose, and this was a this was literally me 5 years ago. I had no clothes. I was thrown in the street at $21. This 2005, 5 years ago, and I could use that as an excuse to give up. And I was put in 3 mental institutions because I was trying to withdraw from those drugs that this drug habit doctor gave me. But I could have used that as an excuse, but I'm not using it as an excuse. So I'm saying 5 years ago, people have more options, are better starting point. Like in a race, they're in a better starting point than I was 5 years ago. So there's no reason that they can't get to the point of great success in a short period of time. I mean, it's you got to decide. So it's really it's very important to understand that it's not my knowledge. It's not what I have. It's really the universe that's giving you the knowledge. You just have to tune into it and decide. Once you decide, then that knowledge will come in. I mean, people will come, and there's a lot of managers. People will help you. People will do a lot of things, and you'll notice the things. And again, there's still a million more opportunities today than there was back then. I mean, it's really, you got to take advantage of it. But it is a decision. You want to decide. I could have decided and stayed this broke. I could have decided, okay, maybe I'll just get a job and just survive. It's just really, it's so important that what you decide to do. And then one of the things I keep on looking at through the book. So this is my house. This was a house I lost that I had in 2000, and I was homeless, and I decided I was going to get it back in 6 months, and I did. And this is a house that I'm in. And I show these pictures and examples not to brag. I mean, I had a jet when I left Khashoggi, when I made the first $1 billion and stuff. I wanted one back that was even bigger and better and stuff. So I ended up, again, I put it in a book. That's my jet today. An MD-87 has a dining room, bedroom, shower, living room, 10 extra. I go anywhere in the world. It's the best jet, private jet ever in. I mean, all this is all achievable. Again, 5 years ago, I had absolutely nothing. And I take an example. And remember, I told you about the dream girl that I wanted and everything else. Look at her.
There she is.
Yeah, I'm 60 years old, and she's 25 and one of the most beautiful women, and she loves me to death. I want her love. How can you do that if you don't believe in yourself and you think, oh, I'm too old, or I can never get a girl like this and stuff? But this is all a goal and stuff, and it's because I decided this is what I wanted. I pictured that in my mind, that I wanted to be married to one of the most beautiful women, and that actually truly loves me, or I decide I want to have that jet. I want to live an extraordinary life. All those were decisions made when I had absolutely nothing. That's why I took those pictures when I had absolutely nothing. I mean, that picture, I was not kidding. And again, I put that picture in here before that. This is a picture. I actually was dead. So I'm saying death can't stop you. I was dead for 20 minutes, and I was on machines for 2 days, and I don't know if I was going to live. And when I came out of it, then I was even worse. I was back to being broke, and I was back. I had to fight these drugs out of my system and everything else. All that would have stopped anybody else. And I just do not let anything stop me. And that's the kind of mindset that I have. And that's the kind of mindset I'm trying to get people to have. That's why I wrote the book, so people can see the example and get to the same mindset and not be a victim. I mean, so many people are saying victim, oh, whoa, me, the world did this to me and stuff. I mean, the story of back when I had $1 billion, I had to lose it all because of 9/11. And I could say, oh, well, me, the government is after me. 9/11 happened, and I halted my stock. I've lost everything that I built my whole life. And now I have to fight the government for 7 years. I'm left now with nothing. And it's so unfair. I did nothing wrong. But I don't rest on that or think that way. I just fight and decide what's going to be the next thing I'm going to do once I win that battle. So it's again, it's all comes to the mindset of where what you're thinking, or where you're at, or what do you want out of life. So you're either a victim or you're a master of your destiny. Or master of what you want to do, and you got to decide that you you're going to take control. If you let the world take control, it's so much negativity in the world. You're going to be beat down. Where the world will win, and you will end up living a bitter, unhappy life and feeling like you missed out. And at the end of the day, in your deathbed or something, you will always regret the things you haven't done, but never regret the things you've done. So don't sit there and regret, oh, I didn't try this, I should have done that. Just try everything, fight, do whatever it takes to get exactly what you want out of life. So that's why I wrote that book. Again, not to show the plan and stuff, because I live an extraordinary life. I enjoy it. I don't need to show it to people. I'm a very simple guy. I'm in jeans and t-shirts. That's how I am every day. I don't think I've worn, except for the day I got married, in 25, 30 years. So it's the attitude and the way I have. So it's what I'm trying to relay, what people should think, so they can live what they want, and they don't have to have everything I have, the plan and everything else. Is get to the level of what you want that actually does make you happy, is what I'm trying to say. If making you happy is having just $1 million in the bank, or making you happy is having a secure job, or having a better family, whatever it is, just decide on that, instead of saying, oh, I'm a victim. I was abused when I was a child, so I can't really get past this, and I can't do anything in life. It's all a train of thoughts. You got to get past all that and decide what you want, and not let anything that is negative. So many. That's why I show the examples of all the negative. That's why this book is not just, this is what I did to be successful and I'm successful. I want to take you through a journey, ups and downs, so you know that you can relate to the things that I did go through. That, okay, I had so much worse than you did, and I still succeeded. So why are you making an excuse not to do something with your life?
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful, and that is what makes your book and sets your book apart from so many books that are out there. And so I do appreciate that. I also wanted to say, that tying it all the way back to what I said about dreaming big, is that you earlier said, I don't even know where I'm going to be in 5 years because I have such big dreams, I have
Those
all
are
these
goals, not dreams. If you
well,
dream, you're
goals.
just dreaming, putting an
Right,
action behind it.
right.
You have to have goals, you put action. So my goals are so big that I have no idea. And most of the business I'm in, I didn't know I was going to be in that business that day, and I just jumped on that opportunity. I took action. So I have no idea what opportunities will come up in the next 5 years, but I will take action on the ones that I think will propel me to the level I want to be at.
And you demonstrate, and what you keep saying is that anyone can do what you've done, and that's what's really
Right.
truly amazing, and what's really really valuable about your book. Listen, we're going long because we
Right.
can, and this is a
Right.
special show. But before we take a break for the
Mhm.
Los Angeles Tribune, let's give the website out again. It's canyourreallythinkandgrowrich.com, correct?
Right. Can you really think and growrich.com? Just the way you pronounce it. And you can find the book there, and you can register there also. It's really great if you register. I'm going to put out a newsletter, and also I'm going to draw once every 3 months. I'm going to draw somebody's name, and they get to go on my plane and take a special trip and spend a lot of time with me and talk to me, and hopefully have enough personal stuff and that I could help them, expand where they're at. And also, just being on the plane alone will expand your mind, that, oh wow, this is possible, because the seeing and feeling and stuff. So even if you don't buy the book, which I think it's kind of foolish, if you're not going to invest $19 to change your life, at least register and spend some time.
That is truly amazing. And before we go to commercial break for just a second, I would say that a lot of people will say, I want to make $1 million in a year or 5 years or 10 years. I want to be a millionaire. I want to have, this is my net worth and things like that. And, in the laws of success, primarily, Hill talks about the guy who said, if I had $1 million, the minister who said, I need $1 million, I need it this week. And he gave a sermon. And after the sermon, someone came up to him and said, well, talk to me. And that week he had his $1 million, which
Right.
you led me to understand that I don't have to say, I mean, it sounds like $1 million is going to be hard to make, and it could be, but why put it off a year or 5 years? Why not say, how can I make $1 million this month or this week? I mean, there are people who make millions of dollars a day. Why not? What do I need to do, or who do I have to find to make $1 million a day?
Right.
You
As I say, everything's possible. There's no limitation. If you look at the Coral Castle and everything else, there's no limitations. But see, people don't believe they can, so they won't. Until you believe you can, and you put it out there, how is it going to happen? if you don't believe it, and if you don't believe in yourself, people are not going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in something, then the universe is not going to offer you the opportunity to achieve it.
Well, and you quoted the poem. I mean, you referenced the poem. I bargained for life with I bargained with life for a penny, and then
and life will pay no more. Yeah,
it would have
to
paid
find out
more.
at the end, whatever I asked of life, life would have gladly paid, and it's true. It's an old poem. It's in Think and Grow Rich, and that poem, when I first read it at 12, I didn't get it for the first few years, but then when I finally got it, I fully understood what that poem was and what it meant.
So you're here with Ramy El-Batrawi. Sorry if I massacred your name right there.
You could just go with Ramy. My last name.
Ramy El-Batrawi, and you're here and learning how to think and grow rich. And his book is marvelous. You're going to want to get that. We're going to do a small station identification for the Tribune, who I'm very grateful for having the show and for the opportunity to bring Ramy to you. And then we're going to continue after we come back. So thank you, Ramy. We'll be right back. And here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We have earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And we're back, and we're going to put the link, to your book as well in the comments, and people can share that for me. And let's see what's going on in the chat room. People are talking, and
if anybody has any questions, feel free.
And there are, and so I would like to get to some of those questions too. And hi there. And let's see here. So there was a question that Sandra asked earlier, and the first question, actually she has two, is what practices do you follow daily that have led to your positive mindset?
Yeah, before it was definitely I read the book a lot, and it was an effort, and I thought a lot about the positive things. Every time the negative thing would come up in my mind, I would shift it right away to a positive. But now I've done it for so long, it's now second nature to me. So I don't have to force it or anything else, because positive thinking is an interesting thing. When people listen to this show, maybe, or take a course or read, they start thinking positive, but you have a thin layer of positive then in a deep ocean of negative. And what I'm trying to do is if you live it every day and kind of reinforce it, that thin layer gets deeper and deeper until it kind of starts erasing the negative thinking that happened throughout your life and everything. So my day now, or when I think about anything, it's an automatic positive. I can do that nonstop. I don't have to give myself a pep talk, do anything anymore. But I've been doing it for 48 years now, and I've been nonstop finding and seeing the examples that it really does work. So right away now, anything that comes up, I automatically, without hesitation, think, oh yeah, I can do that. It's not a problem. So there's no real routine now, but before, Napoleon Hill suggests you write it down, look at it every single day, and reinforce those things, what you want and what you're willing to give. So writing it and seeing it all the time is a good start if you're just starting out and doing this. But definitely avoid, one of the things I don't do is I don't watch the news. I get third-party news if I see it through. I used to get my news through Jay Leno's opening monologue and stuff. But you watch the news, it's just filled with negative stuff all the time, because that's what sells and stuff. So I get enough knowledge by what's going on and hearing what's going on, or I pay attention to business news. But just start ignoring all the negative stuff that you listen to, especially the news. You just tune that out, and there's nothing positive. You're not going to learn any more a year ago or today for what COVID is doing. I mean, it just puts you in that negative mindset all the time. So my only routine is, if I do listen, I kind of ignore it, because I already know the facts of the world and how to live. So there's no real new routine, but it used to be a routine where I definitely saw it and reinforced it and talked about it, thought about it, and overturned any negative thoughts right away as soon as it came.
Wow, that's very cool. And your point is well taken. You do it enough, it becomes a habit. You don't have to put in
Right,
the same kind of energy because now you're doing it naturally.
right.
Sandra has a follow-up question to that, which was, what tips or strategies can you share for leaders going into 2022? Leaders other from your experience, leading others from your experience. Thank you. And by the way, the website can you really think and grow rich.com is
Mhm.
scrolling below right now.
Uh, Again, there's a lot of wow. I have so many things for leaders, and I will I'll plug something else right now, which I think will really help for leaders and stuff. And it's a Simon Sinek video on YouTube, and it's how leaders inspire. And it's a really great 18 minutes that teaches a lot of leadership skills and on how why Apple succeeded and why Martin Luther King succeeded and the Wright brothers and stuff. So leaderships, to be a leader, you have to inspire people. And you don't want people that just want to work for the money because they'll just work for their money. The money. You want people who will work with sweat and blood and will work the extra hour, not just do enough. So when you're a leader, you want to inspire people to work and see your vision and get the why, the reasons why they're doing this, and not just for the money. And then you'll see how much harder they work. I mean, there's also for opportunities. I have so many examples in the book and stuff, but people need to find a need and fill. That's how I built a lot of great successes because I find a need and I fill it. Like during COVID, it was a need for logistics, or during when I started the Yayo's rideshare rental, there was drivers that wanted to drive for where we lived, didn't have a car, so I found I bought the cars and rented to them to the people who couldn't afford cars. So it's finding the needs that there is today, and you fill those, and that's how you also build a lot of things. So I don't know if that fully answers it, but to be a leader, one, you have to have confidence. Like a lot of times, even when I'm in gyms and stuff, I walk anywhere, my attitude about myself and how I feel myself resonates. People can see it, and I get instant respect. It doesn't matter where I'm at. They don't know why they're respecting me. They don't know why they're listening to me. Is because the way I feel. But if you feel beat and you feel negative and you feel like a victim, people kind of shun away from you. They don't want to feel that energy. But the energy of confidence and stuff. This is what people want to follow. And I take a really great example, and you could Google this yourself. I mean, take a picture, Google Martin Luther King, okay, and in any picture you look at him, you know. You look at him and you could see you want to follow a guy, and I don't want to knock down the guy who took over, but you look at every single picture of what's the gentleman's name again who took over from Martin Luther King, who's head of the Rainbow Coalition. Uh,
Jesse
oh,
Jackson.
one more time.
Jesse Jackson.
Jesse Jackson. Okay, Jesse Jackson inherited that. He didn't build it from there. But you look at every picture of Jesse Jackson and say, would I follow him? And you'll see you have no inspiration to follow him. And you take a little picture of Martin Luther King and you you want to follow him. And it's because the attitude and the feeling of what it ensued. That's why after Martin Luther King, the Rainbow Coalition didn't achieve very much after that. There was the leadership behind it is two different things. It's just the person behind it. So that to me, I use that because it's a perfect example. And you can Google it. And when I give talks sometimes at college, I put the two pictures as an example, and you see why people follow Martin Luther King and why they didn't Jesse Jackson. So it's just your attitude will show you. I mean, I walk into anywhere, they don't know why, but they give me the respect that they just want to follow me and I inspire them. So it's all building within yourself. If you get that within yourself and you don't feel like you're a victim and you feel strong, you can feel you can conquer anything, people want to follow that. People are hungry for leaders. I mean, people want to follow anything that they can believe in and stuff. So if you're a leader of a company or you want to inspire people, just inspire them and feel that way, and people will gladly, follow you.
Well, this is an interesting point, and it's and you actually referenced it earlier, in our talk, and I would venture to say this, that if something's inherited, Martin Luther King built a movement, Gandhi built a movement, the Wright brothers built the airplane, Jobs built his business, the people who actually do the pioneering work.
Right.
If the torch is passed on, oftentimes the person who's now bearing the torch isn't as successful as the first one,
Right.
because they have inherited it. In the same way, when you mentioned that, I have people who've inherited millions of dollars and they just aren't doing, really very well. Whereas the person like yourself who has built it, who has pioneered it, who has gone through it, it's hard to argue, for example, attitude with somebody like Viktor Frankl, who lived through all of that hardship and came out saying, you can imprison me, like Gandhi said, you can torture me, you can beat me, but you can't take away my imagination or my mind. Or Viktor Frankl, who is in a concentration camp and came out saying, you know what? There is a quest for meaning, and you can find it, and you can live a fabulous life if you so choose. And you exemplify that attitude. By the way, the research in attitude has jumped from what it was back in the 80s when I first started working. There were a couple of 100 studies. Now there's like 40,000 on attitude and beliefs and things. But attitude is the number one predictor for success in health and healing, as well as in every area of your life. So what you just said. And I know people are asking, okay, so how do we develop that attitude? And earlier you said you shift away from the negative and you make things a habit. You read Napoleon Hill daily. I mean, there are little practical things that people can do.
Yeah, it just do the things that gives you the confidence. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be an easy journey, and you will suffer. I mean, it will be hard. It will be a hardship, but overcoming them gives you confidence, and people want to have that confidence. They want to like if it's the end of the world, or something is burning down or something, people want to follow, or the plane is crashing or something. They want to follow the guy who's confident, knows what he has a direction, where to go or what to do, because again, 98% of the people are followers. I hate to say this, why only 1% of the people succeed or have great wealth and stuff is because they are in that victim, or they feel that the world is what guides them. So things that happen to them is because things that happen to them because of the world, is not because they've chosen what their life is going to look like. And there's a big debate. Is it predestined? Is your future already written and stuff? And it's to me, I totally believe it's not. It's you actually create what you want, and people will follow that. It's good or bad too. I don't want to get to a negative example, but it is an example. I mean, when the world was going through the Great Depression and everything, the reason that Hitler rose, and you could look pictures at him, he spoke with confidence. People wanted to follow him because they were living in the bad through the Depression and everything. He promised he would take them out of it, and for the Germans, he was a great leader that people wanted to follow. And the irony is, if Hitler died before he invaded Poland or any of those things, he would have gone down as the greatest leader Germany had, because he brought them from obscure poverty and depression to a powerful nation. And he just took it too far, and he did all those horrible things, and he was a horrible man. But until that point, if he actually died, really early on before he did any of it, he would have gone down as a great leader, and people followed that. I mean, if you listen to his speeches, it's so passionate and stuff. But he suffered a lot. He was a corporal in jail and stuff like that, World War I. So he went through that thing. But again, that's a negative example, and I'm not for sure Hitler was great enough. I'm just trying to show, bad or good, it's a passion that you show and the leadership, and people want to follow anything that has passion, and the reason, again, I'm not very political or anything, I don't choose any side, but the reason why Trump won the first time was he was passionate. Even though he pointed out negative things about the wall, so he brought emotion out. People make decisions because of emotion. Unfortunately, Hillary couldn't inspire anybody. Her speeches wasn't inspiring, but Trump really inspired people, bad or good. People wanted to interview him. They wanted to hear him, bad or good. It just was, he got them emotionally. And that's how you lead, is emotion, and that's how you win, is the emotion. It could be good or bad, but you got to inspire people. You cannot be monotone or feel like you're like, I'm sure Hillary, after losing to Obama and everything else in the battling, was feeling defeated. She didn't have the same confidence that she did from coming out from fresh, or she lost to Obama because he had more confidence. He felt like it win. She thought it was owed to her, so she didn't speak with the confidence and strength that Obama did when he won. I mean, it was like a new thing, and I saw people cry, and how people came out for him, the young kids and everything. He inspired to win. And a lot of people say he didn't accomplish a lot during. But he got into the presidency, and the House and the Senate was against. I mean, it was hard for him to accomplish things, but he still did accomplish enough. But you got to more pay attention to him running for president, what he did, how he inspired people, and that's what you have to do as a leader, is inspire, not just be just part of the crowd.
I think that's a fair point on both of the examples, or all of the examples that you did. In fact, when Trump was campaigning, like him or not, I wrote a blog article very much saying, he knows how to draw attention to himself. He can stand there while everybody, when he had his 10 colleagues up on the platforms during the debates, he eviscerated everybody, not just by what he said and did, but just by the pure presence of standing there, the way he stood, the way he looked, what he exuded at the time was pure confidence. And many of the other people didn't do that. And this is both a good and bad thing when it comes to politics, because sometimes, the wrong people, and I'm not going to make any political statement, but wrong people can become not only candidates, but officers in our government or in our businesses. So that said, I want to differentiate something. I believe confidence is fairly easy to acquire. Competence comes from, like you're competent at what you do, if not beyond competent. You have gone through, you've seasoned, you've had disappointment, you've had heartache, you've learned the ropes. So you're not only competent, but you're confident in your skills. So I liken it to this. If I said, go, can you walk a tightrope? There might be people who could say, I can walk a tightrope, and they have no experience, and they try it and they fall off. They're confident they can do it without having any skill. And that's a dangerous thing. But the person who says, I'm confident I could learn to walk a tightrope and gain that experience and then walk it successfully, is a different sort of mindset. And that's the kind of leaders and those kinds of people that we need to inspire, are those who are not only confident in what they do, but also competent at leading, And so, you learned from Khashoggi and different people. And, I would want to learn from you, as I think, you've written a great book and you exemplify what you do. But there are other people out there who might be confident, that I wouldn't want to learn from. They don't embody the principles or the approach that you do, or the experience that someone like yourself does, and or others that.
Well, just saying, Mr. Trump, he was never president before. He definitely, I don't know if it was presidential material and stuff. He didn't even know how to transition from one administration to the other, both ways. But again. But he had the confidence. He got him emotionally, so it didn't matter. I mean, why do you ensue a riot into the Capitol? It's just like, but he still got him emotionally. All I'm saying is,
I agree with
you gotta get him emotionally, and that's one of the things in the Simon Sinek video. Why these people succeed is because people make a decision emotion. Why, like he gives an example in there, why Apple succeeded, and why do people are willing to wait in line for the new iPhone for overnight, when the next week they can go in the store and buy it right off the shelf. And it's because those people want to be seen a certain way, how people will see them a certain way. If they had the iPhone, Apple was able to inspire that emotional feeling to be seen as cool or new and stuff like that. And it was really interesting. I love the part when he talked about Martin Luther King. He said, there was no internet, there was nobody, there was no way, people just talk. And he ended up having 300,000-400,000 people at the right place, the right time, on the right day, to come and hear him speak. And he said one thing that was really important, and it was, and you'll get that whole 18 minutes if you understand the one last line he said, how many people showed up for him? And they said 0. Everybody showed up for themselves, as how they viewed how America should be and everything else, So it's really, he inspired them to see how they viewed themselves. It wasn't who gave it to them. Nobody showed up for him. They showed up for themselves So yeah, that's the way you inspire. When you do things emotionally, you do it because it's inspiring how they want to feel about themselves, what they want to do for themselves, or how they want to see things happen for their future, or so on. I mean, that's leadership. I know we're just talking about a lot about leadership now than different success principle, but that's hopefully it answers a lot of her questions, I hope.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, Napoleon Hill would say it himself, to become a leader of yourself before you become a leader of others. In other
Yeah.
words, that's part of that transformation process. I wanted to ask you, what is the name of the video so that people know?
It's Simon Sinek, and I think it's called
Simon Sinek?
How Leaders Inspire. I could look real quick on YouTube right now because it's a little bit longer title. I could give it to you in 1 second.
No, we got a couple more questions here too that I'd like to ask you, and I really appreciate this, Ramy.
Yeah, no problem. How great leaders inspire action.
And by whom?
Simon, Simon Sinek. How great leaders inspire action. And this is one of the most watched videos. It's like 60 million people watch. It's the best TED Talk ever given. It's a really powerful 18 minutes. I make sure every employee, every leader, everybody that works for me has to watch that.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
Change the
fantastic.
way they think.
Wow, that's cool. We got another question, two questions, but the first one I'll go with is with Tim, who says, how important have teams been to your wealth building strategies in their different versions?
Okay, teams are like people work with me and stuff like that. It's very important. One, I definitely have a great operator. I make sure somebody and I inspire them. And it's very important to have people. You can't do everything yourself. Those are things that I do myself. But again, the picture behind me is a good example of what a team is, a mastermind. I mean, this is a signing of the Declaration of Independence. Those people who got together to write the greatest piece of work that created freedom and democracy all across the world and created the greatest nation in the world, most powerful nation. That was a whole team and a group of people who got together and risked everything to write it. So it is really important that when you do build a team, people have the same vision as you. And then you inspire them to have that, and you allocate responsibility. Because I do a lot of things. If I don't allocate all my business, the right people to operate, to do things, my show 27, I have a great musical director who runs that show. I don't have to worry about it and go to Vegas all the time. EV Mobility, I have Lori DiGiovanni who runs that, who has 30 years experience in the automotive industry. So you put in the right place the people and hire the people. In all my years of having I've had very few people ever quit. I don't think anybody ever quit just because they're not happy there. I've kept people forever because they're all inspired in what their directions and what they want to do and work. So it's really important. You do have to have a team. You have to have good people, inspire them, share the vision, have them believe in the vision, and then watch them go. And people will go beyond and reach beyond their potential and do more than what they normally think they can do, because all of a sudden they're experiencing and feeling that leadership. And I especially like when I interview somebody and they're going to work with me, if all they can do is talk about how much money they're going to make, I never hire those people, because it will only work for the money. They'll just do enough just to get the money. If that's the last thing they talk about, and they talk about, oh, how excited about what we're doing and stuff, and they talk about everything else and themselves and everything else, those are the people you want to hire, because you don't want to hire people that will just work for the money, because that's all they'll ever do. They'll never use butt sweat. They'll never go the extra mile. I mean, the guy who runs PDQ for me and other company, he worked 20-hour days without any extra pay and doesn't ever ask for more. It's just because he's inspired and he sees a vision and he knows what he's going to build and he's going to share in what the future is. And that's the same with Apple and stuff. People who work for Apple or people, I saw a special there on Netflix, how people were inspired by what the vision of Netflix was, and they built Netflix and they worked so hard, and they brought it so many times that Netflix should have gone bankrupt, but it didn't, because those people believed in it and really pushed it. So it's really, you got to build a team that believes in what you believe and not just working for the money. So, yeah.
Do you have any particular advice regarding, selecting those members? How do you find people who believe your vision and work with you in harmony toward that vision or mission? Is it just a trial and error process, or?
Yeah, it is trying to. I mean, you interview a lot of people and stuff. You explain to them. You sit them in a room, and if they don't get contagious on what you want, then you know that they're not there. I mean, they already have a preset mindset. If they're a victim, they're all just worrying about their. You see the moment they come in. I mean, a lot of times you have to interview 20 people before you find that one, or that you know. But it's important to go through that exercise, because those are the people that are going to build your business. Those are the people that are going to work and build a great company for you. So it's worth spending the time and working through the interview process and talking to people and spend time. And sometimes you notice them right away. You notice them within seconds. That's the right person, because they exude that the confidence and the confidence in themselves, and that they want to do something with their lives. So all that is really important if you're going to build a team, because it's so easy for a company to fall apart and everybody gives up and they abandon ship right away. But it starts with you. You got to be the leader that people want to be work for.
Well, I think that's the best advice that could be given. You got to be the kind of person that people want to work for.
Right.
I'm also in the movie business, and one of the things as an actor, I'm a filmmaker, but as an actor, I didn't realize when I was young is that casting directors who were casting, because their submission goes to the director, their butt is on the line essentially, so they want to make it. They want to make a good referral. Excuse my dog Sasha, as she says hi to. She's saying hi to people passing by. The point is that these casting directors want to find the right person. They're not, trying to be badasses out there who are just rejecting people. They're eagerly looking to fulfill the position, in the right way. And I think this is true of people who have a goal and a dream and a passion and a mission like yourself, that you want to find the right people. So the interview process is a way of finding and discovering those people. It's not just a necessary evil. It's the opportunity to connect with somebody who can add value to you and you can add value to them. And together we can build something bigger. And I think that people can learn, from that process. I loved what you said, because sometimes, it's just very evident who that person is. And casting directors would say, that happens for us a lot of the time. One person walks in and boom, they're the person. And it's because of their attitude and the confidence and the way that they approach the situation. They have, kind of a like vision for the project. They're a team player versus the person who's coming in going, how do I triumph in this situation? How do I get ahead? Or I need this job to pay the rent. I mean, there's a lot of other things that hold people back. So attitude and confidence. And I mean, I love that. We have another question here from Nancy that says, I wonder if my challenge is that I haven't yet found the burning desire. Yeah, I've got things that sound fun and interesting, but I'm not sure they're a white hot obsession. Maybe that's why I haven't really achieved anything yet. Interesting. So there's a comment. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to have ideas on one things and stuff, but it's really, you don't take action unless you build a burning desire behind it. So you have to first decide what you want, or you just drift. So yeah, she's right. Until she really decides what she really, really wants, and then she puts that burning desire, then she takes action, and then she finds it's the path to succeed in what she really, really wants to do. So it's very hard. There's a lot of people, most people don't know what they want. So they have to really think about it, but really do the thing that you love, because like building business for me, I love it. I enjoy it. To me, I'll never retire. It's like, it's a puzzle, putting pieces together, this employee here, getting this financing, this, creating so many things as puzzles you put together to create a business that generates money and jobs and stuff. So all that is fun. So when the way you build a business, if you want to do something that you love, so because you get that. So why do a job that you hate? Because you're going to just feel negative about it every single day. You might as well do something you love, because you achieve those things just as easy as just drifting, doing something that you really hate. You're unmuted. I'm sorry. You're Rex.
Thank you. Yeah, great suggestions, all there. And again, I think that's why Napoleon Hill started the book with desire. If the desire isn't there to do it, you're not going to do it. So great words of wisdom.
Yeah,
I really appreciate this, and again, your book is such a beautiful example of what someone can do when they put their mind to it, when their attitude and their heart's in the right place. You said something really key too about if it's not a white hot desire, kind of like, why would you do it? It's like, if you can work really, really hard for something you don't believe in or are passionate about, and then what do you have at the end of the day? But if you're really, really, truly passionate about it, then you'll do whatever it takes. Like the Wright brothers who flew didn't know how to fly until they flew.
Yeah, and they broke down a lot and they fell, and in that video, which was really good, that he had a competing guy who had all the money in the world. But he was after fame and wanted to be the first and everything. But the Wright brothers really felt it would change the world, and they wrecked so many times and stuff like that. But they went out there, they had a bicycle shop that funded it, and they were the first one and learned how to fly. So it's really. It's a passion behind what you're doing and why you're doing it, not only because you just want fame or money. I mean, that's all that is a result after you succeed, but it shouldn't be the goal of what you're doing. So if you're passionate about something, pick something that does take you to the next level. But you gotta love it. You gotta love what you want and stuff, and be passionate, and it's amazing how you find the way of making it happen. Once the opportunities will pop up, and just take advantage and just keep on taking one step. Just everything is just moving closer and closer. And when things don't work out, just shift and go to the next step. It'll come. I mean, the universe will present the way to get it done.
I love that. I love that. And truly, I think one of the, I just lost my train of thought, frankly. I was listening to what you said, and
I do it all the time. I do it all the time.
It'll come back when it comes back. So, and I want to thank you too, because we've gone long, and we can go a little bit longer. I know that your time is precious, and I don't want to keep you too long either. And but I really do.
Any other questions? Maybe any other questions that people have? Because I really do want people to get their answers.
Yeah, let's see. Well, here, let's see. Nancy says, I can't wait to read your book. So thankful it's coming out audio because of the Kindle format. It's in Won't Read with my speech software, so I'm really looking forward to that audio. Thank you. Just so you know, she didn't say so, but Nancy is blind, and so she, sometimes the Kindles allow a book to be read, or there's certain programs that she can use. So
it'll come out in audio. It's already been submitted, I think, just a couple of days before the approval process, and then she'll have the audiobook. And the audiobook is actually pretty good. I don't read it because I had somebody else that's professional, but I'll stumble over everything when I read anyway. But I listen to it myself. It kind of inspires myself. It's a really good audio. It's something that you can always listen to and pick up something new every time. Just the great thing about Think and Grow Rich is it's a book you can read over and over. There's so much impact put in that short book that you get something new every time when you're ready for it. And I built my book, or wrote the book. It's 170 that way, because I could have wrote a 10,000 page book with all the experiences, but I condensed everything to a short, that every time you hear, you learn something new. Every word means something. I mean, I took so much time to write it. Then I hired this English professor. I dropped out of high school. My grammar, everything was crap. That he, for the last 2 months, I flew him down here, made sure he spent a week so I understood my life and everything else, so my voice would come through it. And then he took it, and we every day for 2 months we would send back and forth until he got it exactly the way I wanted. But every word has meaning. I don't waste a single word in that book. So it's just like Napoleon Hill, because Napoleon Hill started with a 12-volume novel, Secret of Success and stuff. Nobody read 12 volumes. Nobody wants to read that much, but he condensed it to this one book, and everybody read it. So I kind of want to do the same thing to get to where it's an easy read, and you go through it, and you don't want to put it down for the 3 hours to read that book. It's but you get so much out of it, and then it gives you the option to read it over and over, listen to it over and over, so you do get to the full benefit of what the messages are.
And I would agree. It is a cut to the chase book, but that said, it's cut to the chase with meat there. It's not that it's just not like, Cliff Notes. This is something that's truly valuable that you want to study, and it isn't fluff, and you do want to read it again and again and again and apply it. And what I was saying to you, previously, is that, you quote Napoleon Hill, And the quotes that you use are not often the ones that other people would first use. And I love that about the book, because what it does is it shows that you've delved into the book, you understand the principles, and you extracted, a paragraph or something that you can use to exemplify your point, and then you reflect on it yourself, and then the chapters are built around it, or your experience. So it really is fitting, because it's the kind of stuff that probably too many people gloss over. That's really, really important. And you pulled that out. That's the thing that makes it really different from a lot of other commentary on Hill, is that you've pulled out parts of it that are just absolutely golden, that everybody needs to know, but oftentimes nobody ever references. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, because most people don't study it enough, or read it as much, or put it to practical use. So I really understood the ones that really did work, and the ones that Napoleon Hill wrote that people kind of ignore because they want to go after the easy, simple ones that people can do. I wanted to get deeper into what really does work, and how it really does, expand to what you need to do to achieve things for yourself.
That is truly awesome. I'm going to come back here, and I will reference the painting in the back of the signing of the Declaration. I have an opinion about that. And Hill talked about it being a true mastermind, and I think one of the reasons why it was not only did these people escape hardship and tyranny from another country, they had something that they were operating against, kind of like when we do a curl, with a dumbbell, that resistance builds the muscle, and the muscle actually breaks down before it grows. There's a process in that. So hardship, going back to some of the premises of your life experience in the book and Hill, hardship has the ability to make things cohesive if you go through it and you don't quit. And here were these people who didn't quit, and they came together united on a vision, and worked together in harmony to try and create that vision, and then made something happen. And I would venture to say one of the reasons why we're in such dire straits today, if we are, is that people are not united over the greatness of this country and making it one United States again. It's not, I want to succeed. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's party over persons. It's people over politics over people. And what they had, which is the true mastermind that Hill talks about, is that coming together, united in principle and harmony, and desirous to work together to make it great and better than it could have been otherwise.
Yeah, and these people were not the poor. These people had a lot to risk. They were landowners or wealthy people, and they risked not only their property, they risked their lives if they were wrong. They went against the most powerful army in the world at the time, the British, and they risked it all. I mean, it would have cost their lives if they didn't win. So, but the mastermind is a very important part of a thing. But it's true, if you have two or more people together, it creates a third mind. So them all working together, it created an energy, a connectivity that they were able to write this. I mean, nothing's ever been written like that before or after, that really build the nation. I mean, look at what America is, 300 million people out of 7.3 billion people, and it leads the world in almost everything. I mean, it's from that one document. So and they risked their lives for it. And so they had a burning desire to create an independent nation that was greater than anything else and give people the freedom. And they truly believe that the government works for the people don't work for the government. And they wanted to write a document that showed that, and they would show that they give the people the opportunity to achieve things, or the freedom to achieve things. That's why free economy, that it would build a greater nation. So it was something that was so unique in thinking, because you had kings and stuff, and everybody worked for the government, and they were the servant of the government and stuff, and they had a radical way of thinking and turned that totally on its head, and it worked, and they all believed and was willing to risk their life for it. So that's why it's really been, it's an inspiration for me to look at it, because I know what is achievable by people working together and believing in something and willing to risk everything for something.
Well, as blood, sweat, and tears, and as Hill said in Think and Grow Rich, you got to be willing to burn your boats. You got to be able to
And I do it every time. I don't, and that's why it's a whole thing about not living with fear. You can't worry or be afraid of burning your boats and risking everything. That's the only way that you really get the drive to get something. Because if you have a fallback, you'll try maybe a little bit, and then if it doesn't work, I have this fallback position. I have something to, once you burn everything, which I've done many times, I don't give myself a retreat. You achieve things.
That's so important for people to hear again and again, and what you just shared about the founding of this country is again, people don't understand that through all of this process, hard or otherwise, is where wisdom is built, experience is built, and where alliances are built and masterminds come from, and the ability and the wherewithal to accomplish great things. They don't come from necessarily being cushy and sitting on a couch, watching TV and eating, bonbons kind of thing. They come from doing the actual work and putting in practice.
But this is also another great example of another Hill's principle. Through every adversity is a seed of equal greater benefit. So think about this. If America didn't do what they did and then became the most powerful nation, and England lost that colony, when World War II came, America is the one that came to its rescue and saved it. So if they didn't become independent, they would have fell to Germany. So that's a big example of every adversity is seed of equal greater benefit. They had adversity of losing America, but because of that, America saved them at the end.
That's truly an excellent point. There's also there is this, and I don't want it to be a political statement, but the argument is that there are people who come to this country, immigrants who come to this country, who still in this day and age go, America's the land of the dreams, and I can make my dream or my goal come true. Whereas a lot of the people who've been brought up here are not so happy with America. It's lost its luster. It's lost its, so they're going, it's a crappy country, or it's not built for us, or everything else. So that the people who are actually succeeding more often are the people who come to this country than the people who are necessarily born in this country.
Again, it's because, they didn't suffer. They lived here. They see it. Yeah. These people who come from other countries, they see the difference. They see the oppression. They see the lack of opportunity. And they come here and they say, oh, wow, this is really a great country. I have all these opportunities. But when you're born and raised here and never left the country, half the people in America don't have passports. They've never left the country. They don't think there's anything past America. And they see all the negative in the news, and they see the fight, they see all this, and they live by it every day, and they haven't struggled. So, yeah, I see clearly why that would work. I mean, if I had no opportunity, I came here, and I fought so hard to come here. I mean, what does it take to get a visa to come and be in America? It takes a lifetime to even try to come here. So you're fighting to be here. You're coming from oppression, and all of a sudden you come in and you see, oh, wow, this is so many opportunities. I take advantage of these opportunities. I never had this before, and I've suffered so much, and they want to work so hard to take advantage of opportunities. That's why they do succeed. So it's almost like people should get to the mindset and maybe look at what the rest of the world is like and see how lucky and what we really do have and what we can really achieve with what we have, and that and then reapproach life and say, okay, look at the advantage I have. 300 million about out of 7.3. That's what, less than 0.5% of the population of the world lives in this country. You're already better off than 99.5% of the population of the world just to be here. So you have a head start, like you won't believe, but you don't notice it. It's just like I said, when you're in school, if you're the most popular kid and everybody loves you, you have friends, and you can date every girl because you're handsome and you're football team and stuff like that. Why should you try any harder? You got everything, and you're feeling really good about yourself. So you don't do more than what you have to, because it's all given to you if people are paying attention to you and stuff. So. But boy, the kid that's beat up and nobody rejected, no girl would ever go out with him and everything else. He's got to fight and do something, and he will looking for opportunities to better himself. So that's why those people will work harder than somebody that's been too immersed in it and take it for granted. So that's more as they take it for granted what we have and what we should what they can do with it. So you got to stop taking for granted and realize that this was put here, and that you can take advantage of the things here, and it is that these people risked their lives to give you that, hundreds of years ago, and now you have the opportunity that they created for you, and you don't have to fight to get into this country. You've already ahead of everybody, over 99% of the people. You're ahead of them already. You got a head start. It's like having a race and you started 100 yards ahead of everybody else, But if you're just going to walk while the other guy runs, he'll just pass you by.
Wow, such sage words. I mean, truly sage words, and I do hope that people will first go out and get your book right away. Can You Really Think and Grow Rich? And you can get it from canyourreallythinkandgrowrich.com or from Amazon, and get it whatever form you can. Get the hardcover book. The actual book you can hold. I prefer that over electronics, but get the electronic if you can, and just read it and study it. And also, I would encourage you to watch again and again this discussion that Ramy and I have had today, because it is chock full, really chock full of really gold diamonds, that you want to apply in your life. And I'm so grateful that you've done that. We do have another question that I want to have you answer, and then we will close out. But I want to say that this is fantastic, and I appreciate you and your wisdom and your example and your life and your book so very much. And I thank you for being here. And know that, I've talked with Ramy, we hope to offer some other things in the future. And so we'll talk about more of that another time. But I would love to have you back anytime for the show. We have Daz, who asks, Ramy, what have you achieved to date what haven't you achieved to date that you're passionate about? Is there something you want to share?
Well, so far everything I've decided on I've achieved, but now I have a whole bunch of new goals that I'm starting on. I mean, Khashoggi died about 3 years ago, and he was definitely a head of state without state and created a lot of great things around the world. So I'm taking over where he left off and taking over his shoes. So there's some things I want to achieve, around the world that's gonna be really that'll change the world in a lot of ways and stuff. We were talking also, and this is something that I want to really give back, and the biggest cause for me is the homeless. And we were talking about doing something for the homeless and stuff. Well, right. I have a goal for that, and that's, and I guess this will be one of the first time I want to mention on here, but I will build it. I want to create a city, 300,000 city, buy a city, and move all the homeless people there, and education, medicine, everything. So move them all to a second chance opportunity, and really do something that's really effective, that they'll change their lives. At first, like everybody, they're so used to their lives, they'll resist it. You're going to have to force it there. But once they're there and you're creating jobs, because that whole city will have new jobs for them, and new education and healthcare and stuff. And I know a lot of people will volunteer at times. The doctors will fly in, once a month with different rotations and stuff. So there'll be a lot of volunteers and a lot of people, right? So it is something that is a big goal of mine that I want to achieve. Hopefully in the next 5 years, also to build that city, find a city I could buy America, the whole city, and build a town that these people will feel part of, that they build them. And then there's other huge projects, bringing water into Africa. There's so much stuff that my goals are getting bigger, and I feel momentum that I have to achieve so much. So that's why, I've achieved everything I put in my mind, and now I've set a whole bunch of other goals I need to achieve. So it's just like the next 5-10 years are gonna really surprise a lot of people, I hope.
It's gonna rock. It's gonna rock. You're gonna a lot of good things coming down from Ramy and your colleagues. That's so very, very cool. And I want to talk to you more about some of those dreams too. And I really do appreciate you being here today. The time spent has gone by really quickly, for me at least. I hope it has for you too. But it has been a valuable time, and it will live on and on. And again, I encourage people to share this video with their friends, their families, their colleagues, even strangers, wherever you find it. And I want to thank you so much for being here. Is there anything that we haven't spoken about in the closing that you would like to address, or any final words that you'd like to say before we part for the day? And then I'm gonna then you'll go to the green room and wait for a second while I close out the show, and then you and I will catch back up. But as we do this, is there any final words? Because this has just been an awesome.
I mean, there's so much more I could say, but I think that the main thing is don't procrastinate. Whatever you decide, just start today, right now. Don't wait till next week, next year, or say, I'll wait till the holidays are over. I mean, start today. Whatever it is, a journey of 1,000 miles does start with the first step. Take a step today to do something that you want to do in your life. Just any step. Just start today and then just move on. Don't wait another day, another minute. Just after the show, go do and think, okay, what is my first step I could take to achieve what I want out of life? So do it today. Don't say, okay, I'll just do it next year. I'll make it a New Year's resolution. That's procrastinating. I know the holidays, but just start today. I mean, there's a million other holidays that's going to be here. But anyway, if you pick up the book, you'll get a lot more. But I'm sure that just learn from a lot of other people that have achieved.
Oh, that is truly, truly awesome. Ramy, I am so happy to have been able to provide people this time that we've spent together. I know that you also are doing a lot of it, with other people at this time. Our friend Joe Soto and Ken Walls have done stuff, and there'll be other opportunities for you to speak in different places. You are truly a wonderful person. You make yourself so available, and you do so in many ways. I mean, it's not just because you have a book, but you do so in many ways. You make yourself available to people, and I want to make sure that people go to canyourreallythinkandgrowrich.com and get the book. But it's not, if they don't get the book, like you said, register for the newsletter, and with the opportunity that you supply them, that they could, fly around in your private jet and get to know you, and that kind of, I mean, it's just truly, who does that? Ramy does that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really, really awesome. And we share a friend, Don Green, and Don is the CEO, the head of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and he had some pictures on his Facebook wall of you and he and your trip, your travels together, and I think you have some photos of the jet and different things, or he has pictures. I mean, it's just truly wonderful. And so, if you're going to dream, people dream big, and as Ramy says, start today and take action today. Don't put it off. Today's the day.
Thank you.
Ramy, you are a true pleasure, a true treat, and a true gift to the planet. And we thank you for your comments and your wisdom, and for your book, and for your actions, and for the goals that you will make happen from this day forward. Thank you for being here, my friend. And I'll catch you up to just a second. Thank you so much. Again, go and get Ramy's book, and be sure you do read it, put it into practice, and have an awesome time doing so. I would be remiss if I don't tell you, because I'm supposed to, about upcoming things. We have an upcoming show next Thursday. Let me see here. I got to find stuff here. And I don't have it in front of me. That's why my guest next time. And then I have a little bit of sad news, very sad news to share with you guys. But where are we? My next guest is going to be Don Schmidt. Don Schmidt is a friend of mine. He is one of the world's foremost UFO researchers and one of the foremost investigators of the Roswell incident. He will be coming up next time with us on All Things Rex Worldwide. So be sure to stay tuned and tell your friends and family, help share it, and join us live if you have questions or comments about Roswell and the status of what's going on with UFOs and what's being released in the press and everything else. So that's the next guest. Also, I have, if I can, I don't know what's going on here. There we go. I would be remiss if I don't tell you about all the book that I wrote. It is called Life on Your Terms. And when you get that book, I give you a $497 training. I see that there we are. It's this Life on Your Terms. And you can get it at the website that's scrolling across the bottom, rexsikes.com/book, or you can get it from Amazon. If you go to rexsikes.com book with your receipt from Amazon for the hard copy, or a paperback book, I will bonus you, gift you with a $497 training on mastery. It's called the Mastery Loop. It's online, it's video, and you'll have access to that by entering your receipt code. If you go to that website right there that you see across your screen, you'll be able to get all the details for being able to do that. So with that said, I have some very sad news. Good guy friend, Alex Flynn, who was the third guest on my show, episode 3 of All Things Rex. He was a gentleman with Parkinson's. He discovered that he had Parkinson's when he was 36, and at 49, between that time and the time 49 years old, he had taken on the challenges of marathons, all sorts of different hardships. He's circumvented the world numerous times running, all to bring awareness to Parkinson's disease and to shine a light on it. His goal was to climb Mount Everest next year, to bring attention to the need for this disease to be eradicated and to raise money for it. He successfully did summit. This year he was going to do 3 peaks, and he successfully had been doing his practice runs to go to climb Everest next year. He successfully summited Mira Peak in Nepal, in the Nepal region, and upon getting to the top of the peak, he then suffered a fatal heart attack and passed away. And he passed away in November, and news of his passing has just been made public. He has a memorial coming up on the 15th of December, virtual, online, as well as in person. In my blog today, which you can get at rexsikes.com, I provide a memorial to him, as well as information about the virtual celebration of life for Alex Flynn. He was a good guy. He'd come into my clubhouse room, so we got to know each other. I'm so glad to have him as a guest, and certainly am saddened that he won't be climbing Mount Everest next year, and that he's passed away, because he passed away far too young. His family does want to continue to his pursuit of drawing attention to and raising money so that Parkinson's can be cured. With that, much love to you, Alex. Farewell on your new journey, and love and peace and blessings to those you've temporarily left behind. With that, I'm Rex Sikes. I've really enjoyed the show, being here with you today live. Please share this in replay, like and comment in replay, and engage and share it. And thank you. And I want to thank my guest Ramy for being here and his fabulous book. And with that, I will say so long. Remember, if you consider everything a blessing, everything is a blessing. And that's why I always say, celebrate everything.